Hi, everyone, and welcome to another interview for Extraordinary Latinas. I'm your host, Ileana Rojas, and today I'm so excited and grateful to welcome Maritza Coscarelli. Maritza, you've been a professional ballerina, an empowered corporate leader, and now a successful entrepreneur and inspiring speaker. You support business owners, leaders, and leaders in the making to find their voice, stand in their light, and take the lead in their life to maximize their potential. You're a passionate, heart-centered transformational coach who is not afraid to embrace vulnerability as one of your greatest strengths and use this power to help others find theirs. You're an inspiring and extraordinary Latina, and it's such an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Ileana. It's a wonderful practice in taking that in, which doesn't always come naturally to us. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. And I want to start by asking you to share with us your story. Where did it all start?
I think it started on the hardwood floors of an apartment. It was apartment 2H, if I remember correctly, in Washington Heights, New York City. I was a highly energetic toddler. I had frizzy, curly hair that was out of control. Actually, I still do. This is all thanks to a blow dryer and a flat iron. And I just loved to sing and dance. And back then, you know, my sister's 7 years older. And so we're talking late 60s, mid to late 60s. And it was the twist. And I have the photo that you will see in my green corduroy suit. And I just loved to sing and dance. I was born just to shine like that. It filled me up. The issue was that my father was a little Napoleonic Dominican man with a big personality and lots of control. And he applauded me until he didn't. And I would be tossed in my room, literally physically tossed in my room once he was fueled by alcohol, really. Door locked, lights off, and I really lost my voice. I really became very fearful and learned that what was important was to please people. To do well, but not for my joy, but to just do the right thing, not get in trouble. Cuidado, be careful. It's dangerous. The world is a dangerous place. And what I noticed is once I began school, Spanish was my first language in New York. And I didn't learn English until I was 5. But I learned a lot of things from a grandma that used to, not a biological grandma, but a grandma in love that used to educate us in the basement apartment. Abuelita Fefita. And the story goes on because I kept dancing and dancing, and it's the thing I wanted more than anything. We moved to New Jersey, and at age 12, I went to the New Jersey Ballet Company and the school on scholarship, realizing I had learned nothing at the neighborhood studios. I had to start all over again. It was very humbling, and it took a lot of hard work. And I really went through the whole classical ballet syllabus in record time from 12 to 17. Usually it's an 8 to 10 year syllabus that I had to redo and be humble and go to children's class and adult class and kind of play catch up. And it was a lot of hard work. I went to New York City to go to NYU. And in my freshman year, Alba Calzada, an incredible ballet teacher and ballerina, recommended me to go audition for Ballet Hispanico. And I just was a deer in the headlights. It was before all our technology. And she wrote on a little piece of paper, you need to go here and show up at 9:30. And I was hired to perform on a dance contract that season with Ballet Hispanico of New York. And it was a dream come true, but like so many extraordinary women, success to me was based on accomplishment, and my worthiness was based on accomplishment. And as I began to realize my own shortcomings, I became extremely unhappy. Today, I equate success with joy. Very different outlook. Then I just was never enough. I could only see my flaws, and where I fell short, I was always looking over my shoulder or hiding. I was very fearful, even though I was performing all over the world and the nation. It was really tough, and I began to diminish internally and become very depressed and upset. And I thought the solution would be to marry my boyfriend. He would solve everything. And that didn't work out so great either, but that's a long story. So what ended up happening? I had to go on a journey of healing. And as I went on this journey, I found yoga, meditation, talk therapy, so many helpers. There are so many light workers and people willing to help. When we ask for the help, when we go looking, it all just shows up. And I slowly but surely, with other things that knocked me to my knees, really, kept on this healing journey. And now when I look back, or even when I'm in the present moment, I think like, wait a minute, who is this? And how did I become this woman that takes terrific joy in elevating others? This speaker who can really speak from the heart. And I prepare for everything. I mean, preparation is important, but then I'm able to surrender in a way that I didn't know how to do in my performing career. I was lucky and I was prepared and I worked, but I worked against myself and against the flow. And now my aim for my clients, friends, colleagues, and myself is to get us going with the flow, which is number one, much more enjoyable and which help us accomplish things at a higher level.
That is, every time that I hear you, what can I say? You just like inspire me so much. It's just heartwarming. You talk a lot about a lot of different moments that us as women, as Latinas, as professionals go through, and that I would like to tap into. And you started by talking about how you lost your voice, and I know that that is one of the things that you love to do and help others. So if you can share a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So if I describe it in my elementary school years, in my teens, I talk about how life is in 3 phases. I read this actually somewhere and I so resonate with it. I've read it several places. And it's true, right? We have our youth, we have our adulthood, and then we have our mature adulthood. And these are phases of life that if we accept what they offer and how things change, we can be much more aligned and we can find our voice in a very strong and yet gentle and graceful way. And so when I think back to when my voice was lost, I remember this idea that women still feel today. I think it's a little bit of the imposter syndrome issues that women and men as well suffer with. And it's this: in your mind, you have the question or you know the answer, but sometimes you lack the courage. And what it felt like to me back in the day was a golf ball. It was physically a pain in my throat, in my esophagus. My eyes would burn and tear up. And gosh, the last thing I wanted was to cry in a professional setting, right? Or in a classroom setting. But somehow I was fortified to move forward, even with those physical sensations, because it was important to me to learn and also to express what I knew to be true. If the why, if the purpose is important to us, then we find the way. And this is very much of our culture too. We are resourceful. We are passionate and clear, caring, warm people. That's half the battle with confidence and courage right there. If we show up personable and warm and open and we care, and like I feel like nobody cares more than our culture. We truly are del corazón, like from our hearts and souls. If we allow that to flow and to be, that's how I really began to find my voice. And then there is the strategic part of it. About 6 years ago, after knowing about it for several years before that, I moved to South Florida. And in the town where I moved, I knew no one. And I've done that many times in my life. And I think it's made me very good at awkward or not so awkward first-time conversations, because you have to meet new people. And I joined Toastmasters International. And to this day, I'm currently president of the Palm Beach Toastmasters Club. This is a mission for speakers and leaders. It's where speakers and leaders are made. The belief is you don't have to be a certain personality, a certain race, a certain economic status. It's for all people to practice expressing themselves as speakers and as leaders. And anything we practice, we master. We commit and consistently practice, we master. So now there's no more pain. There's no more tears. There's only like this heartfelt, conscious desire to listen and to share. That's what really matters.
That's so extraordinary. And you talk about, through both your stories about the importance of being authentic. And however, has that always been the case? And is it just like a forward facing, but inner battle? You want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's about being rooted in who we really are and not who we think we are. So I believe that our academic worlds, our educations, our corporate worlds, they all have tremendous value. But I think we can get caught up in status, in expectation that usually comes from others, in beliefs that have been layered on or taught to us. And we forget to listen to ourselves and be rooted in who we really are. Now, that's a big question, right? Who am I? Is the big existential question of all. But I think it also can be answered simply, because I think that our true selves are more similar to each other than they are different. So I would say in our heads, we get caught up in right and wrong. We get caught up in fear and in strategy and logic. And these are important things to success. It's not that I don't pay attention to those. However, they are not my personal strengths. My personal strengths lie in helping you build the bridge from all you know to the heart, which is the seat of your conscious awareness. What you really know and trust is seated in the essence of who you were before you had a credential to your name, before you had a degree or a status of any kind or a title. It's about us remembering that. So it's not even fixing or learning something like that we don't know or that's wrong, but it's remembering the essence of what we already knew. What does that mean? It means being rooted, to me, in peace, rooted in love, rooted in understanding, like empathy, wanting to learn and understand, and then falling in love with that, right? With life, what life really is, and still doing all the work, but in this root, right? If the roots are rotten, the plant, the tree die, they disappear. And that's what I went through in life. And so we can be reborn. I heard a beautiful story today about the rebirth of the eagle. I won't tell it here, but Google the rebirth of an eagle, because they can lose their lives at 40 years, or they can choose a transformation that is not easy, but it gives them 30 more years of life. Very interesting.
Wow. And you've talked not only in the story about the eagle, but in general about these moments where we're down and we need to, reinvent ourselves or think about how to do things differently. And I'm curious, are those moments that you've had to do on your own? Have you been inspired or motivated, had mentors along the way? How does one go about those very deep transformations?
Wow, I got like a sad expression because it's like a never ending, first of all. First of all, I want to state that anything I express as knowing confidently, I also don't know. There is humility, uncertainty, questions continuously. This is the desire to be in a growth mindset and always learning and growing. And so to answer your question, yeah, I mean, the pit and the rise and any contrast, maybe that isn't really a pit, but that is a challenge, is where the lessons are. If we learn to be with all the feelings, right, with anger and confusion and uncertainty and doubt, if we learn to be with those and find the information that those hold, and that is not something you do alone. One of my favorite things to do on some of my content is to put up a warning: don't try this at home alone. And that was tough in 2020. Thank God for technology, right? Because yes, I have had mentors. Like when I think about authentic confidence, one of my coaches, a mindset and business strategist, an amazing coach, I met almost 3 years ago now. And I went into a live event. It was a mindset retreat, armored up, as Brene Brown would say, masked up pre-COVID. I was very polished and presentable. As Latinas, we're taught how to groom ourselves and present ourselves professionally and well. And I was also confident about some things and didn't know what I didn't know in other things. And in a 3-day retreat, this woman was an incredible speaker and an incredible coach. And she really helped to undo anything that we were buttoned up and protecting. Because really what we're doing is we're kind of hiding the vulnerable and transparent self. And you don't do that when you're down on your knees. When you've been knocked down up against the ropes, picture a boxer, for example, right? With the sweat and unfortunately blood, not a pretty feminine image. But we feel like that when we get blindsided or we get a really big challenge. And I think we're better together, for sure. I think we turn to peers, we turn to mentors, we turn to coaches, we turn to people who have already done some of the things, or at the very least are empathetic enough that they have their own story and you can resonate with that, and then we rise together. And it's one of the reasons I'm growing out of my comfort zone. It's very interesting. For years, I taught ballet in my own dance academy in groups. You paid if you wanted private lessons, but mostly dance lessons, ballet, jazz, modern, tap, is all taught in a group setting. Many families would not be able to afford it for their children if it wasn't that way. And then I went into group fitness and I went into yoga studios and educated in that way. I taught foreign language, K-5 in a private school. And yet in this business, in this iteration of my work, I have hesitated. I have loved so much working one-to-one. And I have hesitated, and I am diving in to offer what I'm calling the Authentic Confidence and Communication Collective, the 3 C's. I love alliteration and I love acronyms. So the Confidence and Communication Collective is going to be where the people I'm working with and those who wish to work with me but are not ready to make an investment one-to-one get to join with us once a week. As a group, as a collective, we have synergy, we have more power, we have more healing. Anything can be healed. Nothing in our lives, tragic things have happened. I have friends, colleagues, clients who have lost children. This is the unimaginable, who have been physically attacked, harmed, and just violated in so many ways. No tragedy is ruinous if we are still alive. Everything can be healed, and in healing is where the transformation lies. That's where we rise again. And my coach says, a rising tide lifts all boats. So if I'm on my way and you're on your way, I just get the goosebumps. J-Lo on World of Dance says, if she gets the goosies, she knows the person has performed. Well, we can give ourselves the goosies because the messages that come through us are not, I believe, are not of mine doing alone. They're of being really present in this moment. I receive what's meant to be shared with you, for me, and for the audience. So I will say that again, when we're rising, when we're overcoming and becoming, we're doing that for ourselves and we're doing it for the collective.
It's so inspiring to hear all the things that you've gone through, not only through your life, but also the things that you accomplished through your business. And I know that this is not the only thing that you do. You do have like a lot of different hats that you wear. How do you balance it all?
Yeah, I like talking about balance, and Ileana knows this. She's very well prepared. I did a talk several years ago. Well, a lot of my work is done as a speaker. I not only speak on things like this, but I am a paid speaker. So I will come and do a workshop, a keynote, a seminar, you name it. I like to interact with audiences, both virtual and live. And I like to bring out the best in people by doing that. And I believe it needs to be actionable. I don't want to speak at an audience. I want to be with an audience, right? So going back to your question about balance, I'm a wife of more than 3 decades. I'm a mother of 2 outstanding, a young woman and a young man. He's the eldest, actually, Joseph and Alyssa, that are producing and creating incredible things in the world. They make me really proud, and I'm just happy for their health and happiness. I am a friend, a loyal friend, especially to a handful of people for decades. I have my friends since the 3rd grade still in my life, and then I make new friends wherever I go. As a coach, We have to have multiple streams of income. Don't let anyone tell you just do this one thing. We can only do one thing at a time well. Multitasking is a myth that we bought into, particularly women, but everyone bought into, and it hurt us rather than enhanced our performance. So one thing at a time till it's finished. So how do I balance? This talk I did was called Balance Schmalance. So I have my toe shoes. Those are the ones I wore in my last performance back there. And if you think about it, I couldn't do it now if you paid me $1 million, right? I used to stand on one of those legs on those toes and lift my other leg above. How does that happen physically? Guess what? Perpetual, graceful, subtle strength and motion. It takes the entire core strength, and yet you don't show any effort because you have strengthened your core and your flexibility is such that through time, like drops in a bucket, and this slight motion within the core of your body. So how does that refer to our audience? In business, in corporate leadership, core values. Let the root be rooted in your core values. Put everything through that filter, and you will be able to know what needs your focus and attention at a given time. And when we give attention focused, all in to something, it can't help but thrive. That's how I juggle it.
Oh my God, so much advice here today. I know also that self-care has always been important to you. But now more than ever, especially after everything that we've gone through, what are your pearls of wisdom in terms of self-care?
Well, I'm going to answer with a question first. Two questions come to mind for all of us to ponder. Do we really know how marvelous we are? When was the last time we paused to marvel at ourselves, our partners, our colleagues, our children? We're miraculous marvels of nature, is what we are. Just like we would ooh and ah at a flower in bloom, or an incredible banyan tree when we see all those roots, a zebra in the wilderness, we don't take the time to marvel at human beings. We are marvelous. So do you pause to really comprehend that you have 30 billion nerve cells and 60,000 miles of nervous system, nerves running through your body and working at prime most of the time? It's remarkable, right? We are remarkable. If we pause to do that, then what are we doing to take care of that? If we long to be the change makers of positive change in the world, that's a big, tall order and call that many of us are responding to in our own way. We've got to start small and then go bigger. And in order to be the dancer that I was, the actor that I was, the corporate director that I was, right? I could feel when my energy was waning, was leaving me because I wasn't taking care of myself. So self-care isn't selfish. It isn't something we like, oh, I'll make time for that when I can. We need to flip the hierarchy and put that first. And it could be short and sweet. It could be the water that you keep close to you to hydrate enough. It could be the fact that you're not going to go 2 hours. Really, it should be an hour, but certainly not 2 hours sitting without breaking it up. It's pausing to take a deep breath. It is not being somewhere else, but you asked about the mantra as we prepare for the launch of this project, and mine was be here now. It's the one I would use the most, is be here now. That's all we have attention and energy for. The other one is soham in Sanskrit, which is I am. You need not follow it by anything. You just need to allow yourself to be. These are small modalities of self-care. Of course, there's more that goes into it, but I'd love to share. I'm going to share with our audiences the Mindful Morning Menu and the Express Yourself Workbook. It's liberating ourselves to be. We are not human doing machines. We are human beings. And it's allowing ourselves, giving ourselves the freedom to lead ourselves first before we try to lead others.
Oh my God, what can I say? I even like feel the energy now.
Oh, I'm
After
so
being
glad.
so many hours, I was just hearing you like not be more than 2 hours, and I was just looking at the clock. I'm like, I think I need to stand up.
Yeah.
Any final piece of advice?
I like to think, even though I have lots of experience and lots to share, I love to share it. I like to think of it not as advice, because when was the last time we really acted on someone else's advice? I like to think of it as co-partnering, as like, let's do this for one another. Let's hold each other in this idea that we care enough for the world to be a better place. We care enough for our brothers and sisters to be emotionally, financially, socially free to be. Like, that's why we're here, right? We're all evolving and we're all at different places and stages. But I think that what separates me and can separate all of us is empathy. Understand first, really care, be honest. I had financial ruin. I had health issues. Even this past year, Ileana may know I had spinal surgery. And people say, wow, you glided through. But I prepared for this moment my whole life. Your whole life is preparing you for each moment that presents. And you would not be called to something unless you were ready to step into that calling. That's what I'll leave us with.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, as always, to get to know you a little bit more, to chat with you, to hear about your extraordinary story as a woman, as a Latina, as a professional, as a ballerina. Thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to continue talking with you in the future.
Ileana, allow me to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You've initiated so many incredible initiatives, and you're an example of a heart-centered lead in action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye for now.